Hello.
Hey, Rick, how are you?
Good. How are you, Jose?
I am doing good. Thank you very much. Thank you for taking some time and chat with us for a little bit this morning.
Oh, my pleasure. Oh, that's great.
Maybe you can give us a little background on your life and some of the writings that you've done and how it led over to doing some sci-fi and then and then leading to the big bestseller, The Fifth Wave.
Mhm. Some of my background? Um, yeah, gosh, I was always an avid reader. I started writing when I was in middle school, around that age. Um, Always loved the arts. I have a background in theater. Did some script writing when I was in my 20s. And I wrote a screenplay that had done okay in some competitions. And my wife read it and said, "You know what? I think this would be a great novel." And that just scared me to death. I said to her, I actually said, "Do you realize this would entail me writing something over like 100 pages long?" But I eventually did develop that screenplay into my first novel, which was published in 2003. And on my next book, I just took the plunge. At the time, I was working for the Internal Revenue Service, which is an interesting job to have if you're a writer. But I decided to leave that full time job and take the plunge in writing, and haven't stopped since. I got into writing for young people in the mid 2000s, almost by accident. I had written a manuscript that I just couldn't sell because publishers loved the storyline, but they thought it just didn't fit in any recognizable adult genre niche. So the suggestion of my agent, I changed the age of the protagonist to a young person and rewrote the book, and that became my first young adult novel in 2005.
Okay.
But I always loved science fiction, and I wrote another series. When that was done, I thought, I'd love to go back to my very first love as a reader, which was science fiction, speculative fiction, fantasy fiction, and started developing the idea of that eventually became the Fifth Wave.
Is the book or is the film very similar to the book?
I just saw the film for the first time last night. And so I'm coming off of first impression.
Okay.
It's coming off of seeing it for the first time, trying to absorb. I've been with this story since early 2012, so this is year 4 for me. And you live with a big story like this, which entails three novels. The last one is coming out this spring, so it's kind of like getting whipped back in time, and also the story, evolved on its own as a novel where it went through multiple drafts. So I have these multiple things in my head as I sit for 2 hours watching this film. What my first impressions are is that the filmmakers worked very hard to capture the spirit of the book. Obviously, you can't take a 500-page novel and condense it, and get every single aspect, every single nuance that appears in print onto a screen. It's a whole different medium, and I knew that going in. My What made me feel good walking out of the film was I think fans of the book are really going to enjoy it. It really does stay true to the central themes and the core of the novel, which is really a story about human love and human endurance more than a story about aliens coming down and totally obliterating human civilization. That's not what I ever intended the story to be. And that's what, the filmmakers recognized and really captured, I think, on screen.
Like the storyline is more about emotional and survival and this and this and that and just as opposed to, I mean, growing up, we always talk about, hey, what would you do on your last day, or if you knew the end of the earth was coming, what would you do? But it's not about that. I
Right.
think it's more about capturing the emotion, like you were talking about. Now, how did you have any play in choosing cast members, or did the cast fit the the storyline in the book, or?
Well, there was a very early meeting I had early on with the producers and the executives at Sony. And, I told them going in, I said, I'm not one of those, neurotic writers or control freak. I said, I understand, you guys will never tell me how to write a book, and I'm not going to presume to tell you how to make a film. And I said, I respect I respect you as, for what you do. And I said, you know, uh, I told them my concerns about, what had drawn me to the project, and it happened to, be very fortunate in the fact that that's the same things that drew them to the project, which was, like you mentioned, the more emotional intensity of that story, how we react, um, we're not talking superheroes here. We're talking, just ordinary human beings who are thrust into a extraordinary sort of circumstance where, you really have to define what fundamentally matters as opposed to all the noise, and what we get distracted by in modern life. All that is stripped away in this story. And, the protagonist, Cassie, has to, to use a cliche, dig deep and figure out, now that everything's left, what do I cling to? What really matters? And she discovers that throughout the course of the story.
Now, also throughout the course of the story, Cassie and also other cast members, they talk about the different waves, and obviously to the fifth wave. Does how should I put it? Do the actors or does each cast member grow as the storyline goes along to the end, like in the different series?
Yeah, each of them, and this is what's interesting to me as a storyteller, is as each of these massive events happen, how does it reverberate through their own lives on a more intimate, emotional level, and how do they, adjust? I mean, one of the reasons, not to get too philosophical, but one of the reasons our species became the dominant species on the earth was our adaptability to circumstances. And human beings are marvelously adaptable and can overcome incredible odds. And I felt film also does very well is, we're talking about kids here who are put in situations where everything that we're taught from the time we're tiny is put to the test, including, our trust of others, our ability to work together and to have a basic level of human trust for each other that that makes us able to cooperate and like I said, conquer the earth. But that's the true thing that's put to the test in the story.
And not only that, but these kids like turn into adults overnight, just trying to survive and bond and just stay close with each other.
Right.
It's very interesting.
Right.
How that comes about in the trailer.
It's like a hard shove into adulthood. It's like there's no easy transition. It's just you adapt or you die.
Right.
Fans of the novel are going to be very pleased. There are many scenes from the book that they will recognize immediately in the movie. But what's really cool is you don't have to be a huge fan of the book or even have read the book to enjoy it for itself. And I think that's the ultimate test of a successful movie is that you don't have to know the source material to enjoy the film.
Great. Thank you very much, Rick. Much success on your future writings. We're looking forward to the movie as well.